Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I like to think myself as a bit organized, so like end of November, December, I'll be planning what I'll be doing for the early half of the next year, and then I leave out the rest of the second half of the year to execute any results of the first half. So my initial plan for this year didn't have the US coming here for DjangoCon US. In my plan, I thought, we have our issues in Zimbabwe, but I think the US have got their own, the shootings, the fires, and stuff like that. And it will be appalling for my family to lose me while attending a conference. So the list of conferences that I planned to attend was PyCon Namibia, obviously. I was organizing DjangoCon Europe, so that was obvious. And then PyCon, I thought I would be organizing PyCon Zimbabwe again this year. But then the events in Zimbabwe discouraged me, and I thought I couldn't take the emotional burden of organizing a conference in a turbulent environment, so I dropped that one. So when I was asked to keynote, whilst I was at DjangoCon Europe, I forgot that I had said I wouldn't be attending DjangoCon US for obvious reasons, and I accepted, and I also didn't do research for how long it would take me to get here, because I'd also thought I would attend DjangoCon Australia, but then I saw it would take me too long, and the visa process is a bit hectic for a Zimbabwean, so I dropped that one. And then when I've actually got on the plane, after I checked in, that's when I worked out how long it would take me, and I found that it was 36 hours. Good thing is I win against Russell for the longest trip. But it was so tiring, and I realized that I hadn't quite learned from my first PyCon Namibia experience, which I traveled 33 hours by road to go to PyCon Namibia. I thought I had learned my mistake and improved, but it seems I still get excited and make these decisions. But all the same, I'm excited to be here, and I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me. I think if they hadn't invited me, I think I had given myself, 3 years without coming to the US. So I'm actually excited to be here, and I'm thankful that they invited me, and thank you, Defna, for paying my cost to be here. I'm so excited to be here. A very awesome time, and I hope you'll enjoy my talk. So I'll be talking about my journey with code. Nick has already given an introduction of me. I'm currently the fundraising coordinator for Django Girls Foundation. So I took this Ask Me badge. If you want to ask me about Django Girls Foundation, I'm here to talk. If you also want to ask me about PyCon Zimbabwe, Python in Africa, and other events that are taking place in Africa, you can ask me. Don't ask me about San Diego. I'm new to the US, so I won't be able to help you with that. Then I'm also currently in the Django Software Foundation board. It's something that I tried to do just to run for the election. I didn't think I would make it to the board, so I just tried to vote for myself, at least to get one vote. So thank you for voting for me into the DSF board. I didn't expect it, so thank you. So what will I be talking about? I'll share with you my coding journey, how I started, and also answer the question why I chose Python, despite the fact that it wasn't so popular in Zimbabwe. And then I'll share my thoughts on what I think mentorship is through a project that I've worked on. So my background, who am I? So I'm a third born in a family of 4. We are 2 boys, 2 girls. I'm the youngest girl. I have a little brother who's currently in Sweden, so he's taking up after me of being a globetrotter, so I'm very proud of him. So I grew up in the rural areas. My father is now a headmaster. He started out as a teacher. My mother is a teacher. But my father chose to work in the rural areas because he thought life was cheaper there. So because schools in Zimbabwe, in rural areas, they provide housing for teachers, and they only have to pay like costs for electricity and water, so he thought it was the cheaper route. The advantage to that was it gave me like sort of a high self-esteem, because we were the privileged kids at school, because you're learning with children who are coming from the rural areas. Some of them will come like barefoot, some of them don't have proper uniforms or jerseys, and we had all those like. So my first 6 years of school, I thought I was the privileged kid, among the other kids. Then I became a boarder in grade 7, and that changed because now I was mixing with children who had parents who were lawyers, and I didn't know all those professions, because when you're in the rural areas, teachers, nurses, agricultural officers, business owners who own shops, and then you see bus drivers and conductors when you go to town over the holiday. So it was quite a bit of a surprise for me changing. And when I went to high school, my father decided, because he had taught at Simuto High School, that every one of his children would go there. It wasn't really my choice, but I had to go there because it was my father's decision. And this is my first week in high school. For a long time, this was my worst photo. I hated it because when we took it, I thought I was, posing. And then when it came out, it didn't really look nice, you see. So I only started to see it as funny when I was preparing for my talk, Looking back, that was 1999 and I was 12 years old. And yeah, now it's really funny. So this was my first time in high school. And what happens in the Zimbabwean education system is the final results of the previous O-level and A-level, they come out in January and February. So that was the first time that I actually knew that there are computers, because our school was offering computer studies for O-level and computing for O-level. And the reason why I knew about this subject was it was the first time the school had set for that examination, and there was the subjects were really dismally failed, but at least that got me the attention of knowing that there's such a thing as a computer, because the only thing that we had at home was television. So that inspired my interest in computers. And the next year I met, we're still in Form 2. The subject will be offered when I was in Form 3, that was 2000. And then there was this boy who was in another class. So he was besides being geek and nerdy, he was also good at being at showing off. So he had some brochures from Staffordshire University School of Computing, and it had programs that were offered then. And if you studied computer science, you could do software engineering, you could do network engineering, and all other things that were engineering. And that really inspired me, and I thought I would be interested in software engineering. And as I was preparing my talk, I actually realized, okay, so I actually owe my career decision to this boy who showed me these brochures, in trying to show off. So, so I read them, and what was supposed to happen is at the end of Form 2, we were supposed to be selected, depending on where you are. If you are strong in mathematics and sciences, you are graded into the science classes. And then if you are not, you'd go to the arts classes. So I was good in mathematics and sciences. So I thought I was an automatic fit for taking computer science. But then things kind of always changed when it get to my stream. So instead of having 2 classes doing computer studies, they decided to say, okay, students are not doing so well. We have one class do computer studies and another one do accounts. And it turns out the initial, instead of doing what they used to do, best marks go to 3 East for computer studies, and then the other marks, they go to 3 West. They decided to have a balance and just, do random. So I found myself being placed in 3 West to do accounts. I didn't like accounts, though I have never done it. But also, I had already set my mind on doing computer studies, so I could do software engineering. So I went and asked the teacher who had done that, what criteria did you use to put me in the accounts class? So he couldn't answer that, so he had to redo the classes again and put me in 3 East so I could do computer studies. And those who wanted to opt out and do accounts, they were given that choice. So I ended up doing computer studies at Form 3. So that's when I started actually learning to code. And my coding journey began. So I started learning coding when I was in Form 3, and we're still we had Windows 95 machines. Those are the ones that we had at our school. That was the ones used by the juniors, Form 3 and 4. And then the Windows 98 and the Windows 2000 would be used by the A-level students, So I still remember, my excitement when I powered up the computer for the first time and saw that Windows 95 loading, with the black and white screen, you know, it was so exciting. And we were coding with Basic and DBase3. And people will sometimes wonder why I still use, you know, Windows. But, you know, it was my first love. That's what I, you know, experienced first as a computer. So, yeah, I learned A-level, we learned Pascal, and we learned Visual Basic now for our projects, but we're teaching ourselves. And I really realized that I really wanted to do, you know, programming. Then I went to college. The first language that we learned there was Introduction to Programming. We did with C, and I loved it so much, and our lecturer was very good. I really enjoyed C. We're also doing systems analysis and design. I'd already done 2 projects in high school, so I had an advantage over others. I really enjoyed those subjects. Then when we were in second year, things started going bad in Zimbabwe. So the experienced professionals, they left. And so what would happen was somebody graduates like this semester, and then the next semester you'll be teaching you. So when I was in my second year, we were supposed to be doing Visual Basic, object-oriented to programming with Visual Basic, and oh, if you have got a bad lecturer, programming can actually suck. I realized, okay, what we were learning in class was a little bit shallow than what I already knew about the language. So I saw myself, if I'm going to be a software engineer and I'm going to be working in Zimbabwe, this profession is actually going to, you know, suck. I'll be doing the same things over and over again. I don't have many people to look up to, and I'll be just copying and pasting my code. And when we were growing up also, we didn't have access to the internet. Like, we were over 1,000 university students, and we had less than 100 computers that were connected to the internet. So I only actually got to enjoy the internet when I went for my work-related learning in third year. But I had already decided that I was not into a software development firm. Rather, I chose to go into telecoms. I do networking, I do support, I learn everything else about IT. Then if later on in life I decide to become a programmer, I'll just start learning programming again, because I realized, okay, it doesn't really make sense to be copying and pasting code again, because you don't have the books, you don't have the internet, and also your lecturer is not that good. So that really explains why later I become a career nomad. So if you check my LinkedIn profile, or what I'm going to tell you is, I'm one person who has got so many roles which are different. So after I graduated, my first role was as a network technician at an internet service provider, and I did sysadmin, support, and stuff like that. My second role, I was senior IT technician. This time it was in a university. I did some systems analysis, project management, systems admin, and IT support. I moved from there. I went to an internet access provider. I was a network operations center technician, supporting the network infrastructure. Then it happened that I only moved like for 3 months. After 3 months, the company started not paying salaries. I don't know what was happening. Sometimes you get, I was supposed to be earning double what I was earning in my previous job. So I only got 3 salaries in full. Then the others, sometimes you get 200, sometimes you get 100, sometimes, I don't know how much they owe me, because the company later shut down. So it was difficult to track how much they are owing you. So because of this, people were leaving the company, and there was a shortage in the billing department. So I only stayed longer because I got an opening to work in the billing department as a billing analyst. So this had a little bit of coding. I would do some SQL and stuff like that, because I wanted to, I just enjoyed exploring, you know, the IT industry. So whilst I was working in this department, my boss got interviewed for a consultant's position, which required somebody who had understanding of the billing in the telecoms industry. But they couldn't quite agree on the money side of things. So the people who interviewed them then looked me up through LinkedIn, and like on Monday afternoon, I only saw the message the next morning. Then I responded. They called me like on Wednesday, and then by Thursday I'd got a new job, and I was supposed to start. It was at the end of the month, but there was an Easter holiday, so I was supposed to start on the 1st of April. I later started on the 2nd of April. This time I had another position again. I was a senior BSS and OS consultant, just business support systems at or operations support systems consultant. So they took me to Mozambique. It was a consultants project for a converged billing and CRM project. It was fun being an expert, going shopping to South Africa, you know, flying, all of going home. It was really fun, but there were long hours. And what I benefited mostly from this role was I realized the gap that we didn't have as Africa in terms of data science, because we were coming from Zimbabwe as consultants on doing project management mainly, but the developer was from China, and they spoke Chinese. Our client was Mozambican, they spoke Portuguese. So I don't know whether the language barrier made it difficult for the Chinese to understand what we really wanted for our client, but what we're getting was not what we wanted. So I thought if I were a developer, probably, maybe, I could give back value to my own community if I could have these skills instead of being a consumer. So I actually thought of learning programming then, but my workload was too busy. I couldn't do that. I was also getting paid well, so I didn't have the incentive really. So it was something that, you know, I need to do something that I can do data science with. So it was just a thought. So I didn't stay much with Ruby, with this company. It was like for 1 year. Then I stopped to do my master's, which I started in 2012 to complete it in strategic management. Then afterwards, I had this question, so what role do I apply now? What do I apply for now? Because remember, I already have 6 positions as it is, and they're all different. So I got tired of tailor-making my CV. If systems admin, you have to tailor-make your CV. If it's a consultant, you have to change your CV again. If it's web development, you have to change your CV again. So I got tired of that. And while I was struggling with that decision, I met another old friend. We had worked together at the Internet Access Service Provider. And he had joined a scholarship by Mozilla Hub to learn. He was doing Android. So he advised me, you can get on this program. So the scholarship was, they give you a scholarship for 6 months, you learn programming, you do a project, and then they help you get a job, and they get 10% of your earnings. So for somebody like me who has learned programming, I knew that was not practical. So I thought, okay, I cannot get myself into this contract, it doesn't make sense. Then I thought, okay, I want to learn programming. I'm currently unemployed, I don't know what to apply for. Okay, what do I have to lose? So I applied anyway. So I went through the courses that they had, and I saw that they had Python. So I didn't, you'll all be surprised, but information travels slow to some certain parts of the world, like Africa and Zimbabwe. I didn't know Python existed until 2015 when I visited Mozilla Hub website. I don't know why I never came across Python, honestly. In all my years in the IT industry, I had to look it up and to see how you can use Python. And I realized that one of the ways you can use Python is data science. So that's why I chose Python to learn the language. And so that was 2015. And by 2015 October, we had finished with Python. What do you do then? Now, we started organizing. I gave myself a new role now. I was ICT consultant and Python developer. Okay, full stack Python developer couldn't fit there. But anyway, that was my new role, which I gave myself because I have a startup which is not doing so well. So I added another new role again. So it was really difficult getting started out in Zimbabwe. Python was not really known. It's just really been a PHP country before. So to get the publicity that we needed, and also to keep myself busy, we started organizing events with Humphrey, so that you know you keep learning, and also you have something that you are doing in between projects. So that's how I started organizing events and volunteering in the open source community. And then last year I got a new title again, which is fundraising coordinator with Django Girls. It is a little bit of coding, but most of it is communication and emails. So I've been working with Python since 2015, And I'm just going to share with you what I've gone through while working with Python. Okay, and I'm going to talk about a project. And before I talk about this project, I have to give you a disclaimer that this is not my best project. And it's still incomplete, it's work in progress. But the reason why I'm talking about this project is it's one project that has had an impact in my life in terms of how much I have learned, as well as developing my coding skills, as well as my, my soft skills with respect to coding. I had never worked in a coding team, and I've learned a lot by working with so many people on this project, as I will share. So the solution that is currently on this GitHub repo is not complete, and it's wrong according to the people who gave me this challenge. So please, if you're going to look at it, maybe you just want to give me some feedback, but don't expect much. So this was part of a technical interview question. It's very long, so I just put up that statement. I was supposed to build a single page app with a full viewport map on top and a list of addresses below, and it was supposed to be based on Django 1.9 when I was given it. And the use case was, if I click in any location on the map, validate that this is a real address and it's not some wood, mountain, ocean, etc. Then if it's valid, save it to a simple database table and what. Okay, it's very long, the question. But the major challenges I faced with this project. Okay, so the one thing, we don't use Google Maps that much in Zimbabwe. The only time that I use Google Maps is if I have a client website and I just want to show a pointer of where they are located on a contact page. That's what we do basically. But the challenge is Google Maps is not so accurate in Zimbabwe because what's supposed to happen is users are supposed to put their own addresses, right? People don't do that. And when they do, it's supposed they've got their own company located maybe on the corner Samora, Mashiwa, and First Street. Instead of putting the pointer right at the corner of the street, they want the users to know that the entrance is actually not at the corner, but maybe some 50 or 20 meters. So the pointer will not be necessarily at the corner, but it will be like away from the corner. So when you know maps and scale, you know that that's a wrong address, and somebody will actually come and put another address on the opposite side. So I've got lost a couple of times in Zimbabwe using Google Maps, and I know of somebody who used GPS in Zimbabwe and got lost in a very small suburb. So you're actually better off asking people than using Google Maps in Zimbabwe. So because of that, it becomes difficult for you to do a project with something that you don't really use. Then the other thing is I've never really heard of Google Fusion tables in my life. Okay, if I don't use Google Maps, chances are high I don't know what Google Fusion tables are. So I had a lot of learning to do with respect to the project. So my initial attempt, I tried to use Angular. I had done a to-do app with it, AngularJS, and Django REST framework, and Django 1.9. But I couldn't, the setup couldn't work with me because when you look at Google Maps tutorials, they use raw JavaScript, and I couldn't get AngularJS and vanilla JavaScript to work. So I tried something again. Okay, when I submitted it, I was told, okay, you didn't do any testing, you didn't do any validation, and you didn't do any documentation. I had only submitted it, not because I thought it was okay, but the interviewer was asking me, and it had been a long time since I submitted anything, so I just submitted anyway. So I decided to take some time for personal development. And I started to learn Angular online. I realized there's no point to sticking with AngularJS. I'm not good at it anyway. I started learning Angular. Then I also did a workshop tutorial on Django, Angular, and Django REST framework at PyCon Namibia. It was just a way of trying to learn on how to do this. Then I tried to do the project again. This time, because I Googled and realized that it's difficult. You could load maps with ngmap, so I tried that. So I could render the map, But now I could not do everything else that I was supposed to do. I could just render the map, and I had a back end that was working, but post requests couldn't go through. I just know I could click, but I could do reverse geocoding as I wanted. So okay, I changed that. I was just working on this on my own. I tried now to do Angular, Django REST framework, and Django. And then I just used JavaScript to load the map. And I still struggled with Angular post and request. You see, those promises and observables and stuff like that, combine that with reverse geocoding, it was bug after bug. So I realized, okay, I think I need to ask for help. So I went on Twitter and asked for somebody to tell me how I could do Angular posts, and they pointed me to another resource I could use online. I also, when I went to PyCon Namibia, I was, Harry Percival was there, and he was doing a workshop on testing. And I also got a chance to talk to him, and I asked him advice on what I could do with my testing, and other stuff. And he recommended me some books which I could get to help with coding interviews. Then I also approached Mark Tamilin. I remember that he had done a talk on Django validation. So I asked him about basically developing with Django and validation, and he gave me some good tips. I asked also Daniele, he's one of the board members, but he has also been involved in Python events in Africa for help with Django documentation and DjangoCon Europe. So I've really been using contacts whom I met at conferences really to get help. I also asked Emma at DjangoCon Europe, because she had a workshop with Django REST framework on how to integrate Django and Django REST framework to any other front-end technology. Then I also asked my bosses, Ola and Ola, Marcus and Noma, we're co-organizers of DjangoCon Europe on Django and AJAX. And then I needed books to read. And thanks to DjangoCon Europe, I met a good friend who helped me with my shopping. He did the shopping before I got there, and then I just collected when I got to DjangoCon Europe. And so after getting the resources I had, I used the book in the picture there on it doesn't talk about the coding itself, but it just helps you with your soft skills on how to approach project design and stuff like that. So I did a redesign and decided to use, I think I'm going to replace Angular with AJAX. That way I still get used to use JavaScript without problems. And then I decided to get a mentor to help me with AJAX. So I had checked Django REST framework and realized that Tom Christopher uses AJAX also. So I approached him via Twitter, and we talked a lot. I would send him my code snippets, and he would comment on them, give me advice on what to do. I sent him again. I sent another code snippet, and just pictures, and he comments on them. And we had a lot of those, and I managed to do a brute force solution. So I would load the map and do reverse geocoding with JavaScript, and then save the results to the database. I wanted to then save to Google Fusion tables, but I still haven't managed to do this. But this was the brute force solution that I was supposed to do. And then JavaScript and AJAX would be used to communicate, for the front end communicate with the back end, and then Django framework to link the two. So, working with AJAX, I was very new to AJAX and jQuery, so many Twitter DMs really, between me and Tom, really helped me to get started. The testing, I had a book that I had been given by Harry Percival at PyCon Namibia, and this helped me with functional tests and unit tests. And then validation, my hour with Mark Tamilin came into place. I managed to run my first custom validator, and it really worked, and I was proud of that. Though it wasn't quite what the interviewer wanted. And then for documentation, when I asked Daniele, he just gave me, I asked about documentation. He just wrote something in my notebook. I still have that small notebook he read. He said, you only need like 4 sections, tutorial, explanation, and how to guide and reference. And because of this small, I think it took less than 10 minutes, I was able to do the best documentation for a project I've ever done in my life. The only problem is that the project was incomplete, so the documentation couldn't be really as complete as it should be. So I did a project which had a small README, and I was really proud of myself for what I had done. Then I submitted the solution now, not because I wanted to submit it, but apparently the person had been following my GitHub and seeing what I was doing. So he saw that I was working on something. I didn't want to submit it, but because you have been asked, you just submit. So the feedback was I had good documentation and tests, though they were incomplete, obviously, because the project was incomplete. My first geocoding had been done at the front end, was supposed to be done at back end. And then I was doing the wrong thing, resetting the page with the GET request was wrong. And he recommended some reading resources, and he said my validation was not enough. Then he asked me a question, what's my career plan? And recommended that joining a small team would be ideal for me to learn, and I would one day become a great developer. So the feedback came in a very long email, and when it came, it was shortly after our elections, and there had been shootings and what not. So I had a lot of things on my mind, so I took like 3 months before I responded to this. I didn't even have time to read the email. And so after 3 months, I responded. I really didn't get your feedback. Okay, I understood the comments that he gave me, but I didn't actually understood the questions that he asked me about my career. And I told him that, okay, I want to learn development, but maybe later I want to do data science. So I realized that I wasn't actually clear on what I wanted to do now. I had been clear maybe all along, but now I know what I want to do. So I had to ask myself a question. So what's my ultimate career plan, right? Because I already have a long CV. I don't know what I really want to do. So then I learned there is this thing called site reliability engineering, where they take people who have got a good Linux background and systems admin role and who can code. So I realized, okay, so I think I've been going this the wrong way. I already have a lot of skills that are useful that I should not shun away and try to become a full-stack developer now. But what I could do is I could just add my coding skills to the skills that I already have, and I could be more successful. So this is now my new goal, and I hope this is going to be my last title. And that's what I'm working towards now. And I'm very serious about this. I mean it. Okay. So key lessons to draw from my journey. What can you learn? So if this is your first conference, or you just started learning out programming, one thing that helped me was attending meetups and conferences, and also sprints. It helped me meet my potential mentors. It also helped me learn from the various talks that I would attend at those conferences. It also helped me meet friends who have been helpful in many ways in making my journey successful. And one thing that I've learned also is asking for help is very crucial. I think if I had asked for help in my career earlier on, learning Python, instead of trying to do it on my own, I could have learned more than all these years instead of just trying to do it myself. So you actually learn more when you approach other people and ask them to help you out. They really don't have to, the programmers are very busy, they've got their busy schedules, and then they don't have to write long lines of code for you. They just need to suggest something for you to do, and if you know what you are supposed to be surfing for on the internet, it's easier than when you don't know what you're supposed to do next. So this is one thing that I took from my journey, trying to learn on my own, being self-taught without other people to rely on, and conferences has really emerged as my source of a large pool of mentors who help me with small things that I need to learn. And if you are a beginner, you could learn more if you can just talk to people over lunch. The good thing about DjangoCon US is they don't have badges that say I'm up for a chat, or I'm not up for a chat. So you can just talk to people if they are walking around. You will not be violating anything because they didn't say I don't want to chat with you. So, yeah. Then for advanced developers, please do not dismiss a beginner. If you don't know how to help them, or it's not your area, or you don't have the time, it's better to just tell them or refer them to someone. This has been really helpful for me, like when I attend sprints. If I ask something, last time at DjangoCon Europe, I had issues with Docker, and Iakopo was very kind to refer me to somebody called a Docker expert, and he helped me. So that's really helpful. If it's not your area, suggest someone. Okay. Suggest someone to help, and it will go a long way. And please don't tell me how poor my code is. That's why I don't go on Stack Overflow, because I see that's what people do. So I can't post a question there. I know people are going to tell me how poor my code is. And so my thoughts on mentorship is, it doesn't really need you to devote an hour of your time every week, every month to mentor some people. Just give a few minutes to answer somebody's questions. Suggest something kind and tell them how to get on with your code. It will help them instead of just saying I'm busy. And especially at meetups, when you meet people who are starting out their journey with code, it really helps for you just to be kind to help them with their code. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops, you have gone a long way in helping that person become a programmer and become better at that. They also appreciate the coding industry because people are helpful. So for me, I feel so blessed to have so many kind of people in my life who have taken time to look at my code and help me improve it. And some of them have been kind, in helping me and my community get resources that we need. So how can you get involved in Africa? You can support us by mentoring some people. We have some mailing lists, or you can come and speak at our conferences, help organizing our conferences, or sponsor in some way, cash or kind. Or you can join our mailing list and help us organize our first Pan-African events for Python and Django, hopefully in 2020. So we hope you'll get involved. And then I'll leave you with this quote. The key to realizing a dream is not to focus on success, but significance. And then even the small steps and the little victories along your path will take on greater meaning. This was said by Oprah Winfrey. So for me, it has really been an amazing journey. Though not so smooth, it's been long, but I'm actually glad to be where I am today, because I decided in 2006 that I was going to do the networking and the systems admin and then get back to coding. And I feel like I've accomplished something. I haven't got the job yet, but at least I am where I set out to be in the first place. So I'm really happy to be where I am today. And thank you so much for having me. If you want to contact me, you can. That's my Twitter handle and my email address. So thank you so much for having me again.